The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. This isn't just a podcast. This is a call to action for all entrepreneurs who are tired of seeing their businesses and communities suffer while big business continues to grow by the billions. We challenge you to apply the content of our time together to create businesses that your clients can't resist, your employees love to work for, and your communities can depend on. Now is the time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Hello, this is Matt Barbie here with Entrepreneurs Ascending, and thank you so much for joining us. This is a show that is meant to equip you with plans of action to help you to be able to take the next steps in your business to level up. Because let's face it, big business is doing great, and I'm not here necessarily to bash big business, but I am going to say that the value that you bring to your community is far greater than the boxes that are dropped at your door from the big business, right? Because you invest back in your community. And these are some of the things that we want to talk about today is how can you create a strong business going into 2022 that is going to allow you to keep investing back into your community. So unfortunately, our co-host couldn't make it today, but that's okay. We're going to just talk through this together. So we've got two parts of the show, like we always do. And the first part, we're going to be talking about annual planning as a whole and why that's important. And then in the second part, we're going to be digging into 90-day level ups. And you might be familiar with the book, The 12-Week Year. They kind of do that in this. It's kind of a similar concept, but when I work with my clients, I dig a little bit deeper on a few things. So I'm going to share some of those with you and also offer you a chance to potentially join us for our 90-day level up that's coming up on the 30th. So, all right, well, let's dig into part one. So annual planning. I think that there's a couple of quotes that kind of bounce around, or some quotes that are similar to them about the uselessness of planning. At least that's one way to interpret them. The first one, I believe it goes something like, no plan of operations extends with any certainty beyond the first encounter with enemy forces. And that was by Prussian Field Marshal Helmuth von Moltke. I'm probably butchering the name. I'm so sorry. Oh, and the Elder. And that's from 1871. And I think that's a translation from German. But then Dwight Eisenhower, former President Dwight Eisenhower, was quoted many times in many iterations of plans are worthless, but planning is everything. And if you've ever made an annual plan, or if you've ever made a plan for your business or life or any of that, you might have found that you don't necessarily pull that off the shelf every day and look at it. And that's understandable to a degree. But it isn't necessarily about whether or not you pull it off the shelf every day. It's about the planning process. And that's what that means by planning is everything. So it's not some sort of weird paradox. It's actually about the process of looking forward and trying to anticipate the things that are anticipatable. And maybe even trying to make sure that you leave a little bit of cushion for the unexpected and the unplannable. So we're going to talk about some of those main things here. And the first part is that I think that is so overlooked for a lot of folks is really getting clear on what the vision is you want for the future. I know with a lot of small business owners, it's like, well, my vision is just to have a good business that pays the bills, and I have a few employees, and they're pretty happy, and my family's pretty happy. But not that there's anything, again, not that there's anything wrong with that, right? It's wonderful that you want to live a happy life, that you want a happy life for your family and your employees, but there's so much more impact that you could potentially have. And I think that some of that kind of comes from society and culture kind of telling us that, like, it's wrong to want more, or stay in your lane, or just good enough is good enough, because a lot of us come from maybe working families, and in working families oftentimes it's, well, hey, get a good job and be comfortable. And and again, like, I'm not saying that if that's your goal and your vision, you're doing something bad or wrong, but each of us has so much more potential to have a bigger impact than what we maybe even realize, or maybe what we're even envisioning. I know for a lot of younger folks, millennials and younger, I've spoken with them. It's like, well, you know what? I just want to be happy moment by moment, because we've had all this pressure from our parents and from society telling us, well, it's on your shoulders to fix the world. Global warming is going to kill you, or pestilence is going to kill you, or all this stuff. And so it's really an interesting mindset that a lot of especially younger folks have, even just about, hey, yeah, what kind of impact can I have if the world's all going to hell in a handbasket? Pardon my French, but it's very disempowering. But how- the more, even if you believe all that, think about the fact that even if you plan bigger and make bigger impacts, you can do that moment by moment. Okay, sure, maybe the entire world explodes next year. Who knows? I mean, with the way that 2021 is all going, yeah, maybe that's fine, whatever. We can't change that, but we can have a bigger impact moment by moment if we just start expanding our vision a little bit more. So I highly encourage you, like, think about what do you want to see in the world? I know those same folks who maybe are feeling a little bit disempowered. I know those same folks, they want something better for the world. They want more freedom, more of a sense of equality, and I do too. And And if you're passionate about that, work towards that in some positive ways. Learn how to improve your communication, and learn how to influence others positively, and learn about the issues and culture, and how you go about initiating positive change. But get clear on that purpose that you have, that vision that you want for the world. Because I always say the difference between, like, a vision and a mission is, the vision is if you were to, like, close your eyes and picture the world 10 years out, or even further, and you just picture what that looks like. Explain to me what that looks like. For me, it's a vision full of faith, love, and abundance. And faith in something greater, something more powerful, not this kind of, like, loss of hope that a lot of people live through. That faith is about hope for me, but and then everybody feeling loved, and abundance for everybody, because by by living with more faith and that hope and that love, I believe that we can have more of abundance. But that's my vision for the future. That's what I see, personally. And I believe that through, my business, my business coaching and consulting, and through this and other things that I do, other missions that I have, we can achieve that. But then you go to your mission, and think about your mission. Really, what is your purpose? What is your passion? Why are you doing what you're doing? So start there. So when we build out our vision, though, once we get that, like that, let's say our 10-year goal, really where we want to be 10 years from now. I think that the 10x rules and the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals, are fantastic when you're looking at your 10 years from now, because that's really your stretch goal, and it really gets you to think differently about what is possible. And it can be really, really motivating if you really see, like, this fantastic impact that you have, 10 years from now. Beautiful. So you want to look at, like, what kind of, like, with your business, what kind of revenue, what kind of profit, your employees. How many employees do you have? What markets are you in? Are you what kind of offerings do you have? Are you in different countries? Have you expanded to other types of services or products? Get clear on what that looks like. And then I like to break that down into like 3 years, 3 or 5 years, but I like 3 years, 1 year, and then we break that down into 90 days. And we'll get more into why the 90 days are so critical in part two. But so once you kind of get an idea of where you want to be 10 years from now, that big, hairy, audacious, big impact goal, I love breaking down 3 years. I think that can still be really big because we really underestimate what we can do in 10 years. We really overestimate what we can do in 1 year, I think. Um, and so that's why I go back to the 1 year. Typically, I try to say, okay, it's good to have a little bit of a stretch, and it's based on kind of like the momentum you have. So it's kind of subjective. I can't just give you a formula. It's kind of like how much momentum do you have? What's your track record? What's the market opportunity? Some of those things that we need to look at. But 1 year should be kind of a stretch. But we break that stretch down into that first 90 days. Like when you're going into 2022, those first 90 days are huge for getting the momentum to hit that stretch goal. It's a great idea to really have everything in order for those first 90 days. They're going to help you to start building up some habits. So I'm those first 90 days, I make sure that it's very doable, very realistic for those first 90 days because we want to make sure that we win. No matter what, we want to make sure that we win those. But it's not just about more hustle. Those first 90 days are about improving your habits and your results for the full year. So habits, and I think I spoke about this before. Habits are kind of like your routines and you just kind of your thoughts that you have on a consistent basis. Your autopilot. So it can also be those behaviors and those actions that you take. But here's the truth. Those habits, those routines that you have every day, it can even be the systems in your business and how your business runs. It's kind of habitual, right? Like it just kind of like runs on autopilot sometimes, and just the same things kind of keep happening over and over again. But those are often what gives you the biggest results for your business. Now, it might not be the results that you want, but those are giving you your current results. And guess what? Goals are just a different set of results. So if you want to actually level up and keep leveling up, not just hustle really hard, hit a goal, and then kind of relax, because that's kind of that's often what people do. They work really hard and they relax because they've burnt themselves up or burnt themselves out. Instead, what you want to do is create the new you one habit at a time. Because the person that gets those results consistently that you want with those goals, it's a different person. It's okay to think, hey, you know what? I'm at my core, I'm the same person, right? But in terms of how I express myself to the world each day, that's different, right? That can be different and that will be different. And some of the beliefs that drive that, some of that programming that I've learned throughout the years, that's going to be different. And we need to plan for that to be different. All right. All right. So we want to plan those out. And we're, again, part two, we'll get into a little bit more about how we do that. But we need to, each year, especially, you need to take some time to do a values check in. Am I running my business based on the values that drive me? Are the team members that I have driven by those same values? Are we steering the boat within the channel that we want to stay in, or are we going out into waters that we're not comfortable with if we really think about it? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you got to sleep. Your employees have to sleep based on the actions that you're taking and based on what you're doing. So it's important to have a good values check in because also, if you don't have employees that share similar values, oftentimes that's where you see a lot of butting heads, a lot of misunderstandings, miscommunications. So you want to be clear on your own values so that you can make sure that you hire the kind of people that are going to help you live up to those values for your employees or for your customers. All right. And then data analytics. So how many of you by show of hands, um, how many of you look at your 5 points of profit at least every year? Hopefully you do it every day. All right. What are the 5 points of profit? The 5 points of profit are leads, the conversion rate of your business, the number of transactions per customer that you get, and that can be time bound by whatever is appropriate for your industry, the amount of money per transaction, and then your gross profit margin. Those are like the five biggest numbers that you need to know for your business. Again, leads, conversion rate, the number of transactions per customer, the amount of money per transaction, and your gross profit margin. And your gross profit margin is actually the amount of money left over after you fulfill a job. And I like to include any sort of marketing costs in that, a per customer cost, just so that you have a really good, clear number of what you have. After that, the rest is to pay for administrative fees and whatever else. So if you think about it, it's what materials go into it, what labor, maybe gas, maybe software, those kind of things that go into fulfilling the job, broken down per job. So, and conversion rate, just in case you're not familiar with that, conversion rate is the percentage of those leads that become customers. So often when we talk about our business, there's actually kind of like, they're almost vanity metrics. If you look at just the customers that you have, the revenue that you're bringing in, and your profit, and they're also called lagging indicators. So if you're just looking at how many customers do I have, how much revenue am I bringing in, and how much profit overall do I have at the end of the day, those are lagging indicators. The reason that I love to talk about your average points of profit, those 5 points of profit, is because it helps you. Those are predictive indicators. If you look at how many leads you're getting in, and you know your average conversion rate, you know approximately how many customers you're going to get in, which then drives all the rest of those numbers, right? If you know your averages. And that allows you to be able to better predict what you need to do with your marketing. Oh my gosh, I'm not getting as many leads this month. I better kick it into high gear, make sure that I'm going to be able to hit my numbers. Oh my gosh, I'm getting more leads than usual. And it looks like they're good quality leads. They're the same quality that I normally get. So I might need to ratchet down my marketing a little bit this month so that I can handle everything, all the new business. So that's why that's so critical. And then each year you need to look at, is your market dominating position or unique selling proposition, is it still true? Is it still unique? Is it still setting you apart from everybody else out there? And I recommend going and looking at the reviews of all your competitors, of the industry leaders. Especially look at, okay, well, looking at the 5-star reviews is great because it shows you what they're doing well. If people say, hey, I really like how you did this, I really like how they did this, they really communicated with me well, those are great. But if you really want to make a stake that sets you apart, you want to figure out what is pissing people off. Going to those 1, 2, 3-star reviews are fantastic for figuring out what other people are doing wrong so that you can say, hey, we do it right. That's these things that you hate so much about, the industry and the competitors, that those are part of our 5-star process. Our 5-star process is the steps that we take every time to make sure that you have a 5-star experience every time. And then we guarantee it. You want to look at your guarantee. What are you telling them? Hey, if we don't live up to the standard, because that can be a market dominating position in and of itself. It doesn't always have to be, well, we're going to give your money back. It could be, we'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Or we'll give you, we'll make it right. Plus, we'll give you a gift card, or it could be something along those lines. So there's a lot of options for guarantees. All right, here is where the rubber really meets the road, I think, with your marketing or with your annual plan, and even your 90-day plan. The SWOT analysis. If you're not familiar with the SWOT analysis of how you're going to look at your internal and external factors that could support you or hurt you, then you're missing out a big part of annual planning. Because again, if annual planning is about being able to kind of look forward and think about the future and think about, okay, how would we react if this happened? Where do we want to go, and what are the possibilities of derailing us? Because a big part of this is risk management. Risk management is a key component of project management. It's also a key component, I think, of annual planning. It's also a skill set to be developed. And then you want to get good people around you that help you plan for risks. Your insurance agent can be a great one. If they really actually, if they're not just an order taker, which unfortunately there's a lot of insurance agents that are just kind of order takers. They're going to give you what they think you want to hear at a number they think you want to pay for, as opposed to, hey, these are actual factors that have hurt other people similarly, and you might want to have some insurances for that. Take a good insurance agent, even if they're more expensive. Take them seriously, because they can be one of your biggest advocates if they're going to really help you to identify potential risks. So, a SWOT analysis, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's the SWOT. But what a lot of people get wrong is that the strengths and weaknesses, those are internal to your organization, maybe internal for yourself, internal for your team. So you want to look at what strengths and weaknesses you have internally, and be real. Be real about yourself. Because guess what? As the owner, you are most likely the biggest cause of any bottlenecks in your organization, either because you won't let go of something or because you're putting too much on others way too quickly, or maybe you just haven't taken the time for some real good personal growth. Quit thinking that you're perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Be humble if you want more for yourself. Be humble if you want a bigger impact. You're not perfect. All right. So look at your strengths and weaknesses. Then externally, look at your opportunities and threats. The opportunities and threats are what's going on in the economy, the culture, your local community, your industry at large, nationally, politically. Those kind of things can affect your opportunities and threats. For instance, there were rumblings about COVID before the end of 2019. And if people sat down during their annual planning in December, the people who said, you know what, it's gonna come, it's gonna spread. Maybe we should start selling masks, right? Whether or not you agree with masks, that's not what we're here for debating. But those people made a fortune. I was gonna use a different word, but it didn't seem appropriate in that context. So a fortune because they had some vision. They took the time to say, what are my external opportunities and threats? Because for some, the threats was COVID, right? That took their businesses out. But for others, it was opportunities. And the people with a little bit of vision got it. Then, of course, you want to look at your marketing plan. You want to look at your market, your message, your media. Okay. But you want to make sure that your marketing plan is geared for the right kind of people, that you have the right kind of message that gets them to act, and it's on all the right places where they're. So basically, you want to know what's going on for the message. You want to know what's going on their eyes or their head and their heart, so you can direct a message directly to that. And then media, where are their eyes and their ears, basically. Maybe their noses if you're a restaurant or perfume company. But all right, and then especially going in 2022, what is your people plan? Your culture? What does your leadership look like? Your employee development programs? How are you helping them to grow and get better? And do you even know what their personal visions are? Read the book Dream Manager. Love it just because it gets you to think, how can I figure out what are the goals and ambitions of my employees, and how can I help them get there? Because when their visions and their goals align with the bigger, that's when you have massive momentum. And then what does your org chart and your clear responsibilities look like in that? In the EOS system or traction, that it's called an accountability chart. Which that's a phenomenal book. If you need more information about that, feel free to reach out to me. And then looking at your budget, and then real quick before we go over to part two, I just want to talk about the pro forma. A pro forma is basically like looking at your financial, your finances for the future. Okay, kind of what is your future budget, if you will? What does your plan look like for where your money is coming from and going? Okay, so the reason it's so important is because it helps you to think through any sort of financial challenges of growth. Because as you grow, you have to handle, you have to hire new employees. But there's a certain period of time when hiring new employees actually decreases some of your profitability because of the training that goes into it. They have to learn, right? Or maybe you hire somebody just before you actually have the revenue to fully support them because you have some money in the bank, you're good, you're comfortable with it, but you need to know what you need to do to make sure that as you grow and hit the revenues that you want to hit, what is the employee, what are all the expenses, what kind of softwares or inventory you're going to have, or all that stuff. So it's really great to just go through that and take a look at that. Some accountants are great at that. We can also help out with that. So again, contact me if you want some help. But so those are some of the big things that I often see people kind of miss or don't think about as deeply as they should each year. When we get back from our quick break, we're going to talk about how to break down your big goals into a 90-day plan that's going to help you to not just like hustle real hard and hit a goal and then kind of burn yourself out. It's going to help you to level up. That's what's really important, leveling up each quarter. So let's go ahead and go to break, Jason, and we'll be right back. Have you been suffering from chronic pain, disease, or sleep disorders? Did you know that 75 to 90% of disease is caused by inflammation in the body? The sad truth is, most doctors just treat symptoms rather than finding and fixing root causes of inflammation. If you want to fix your health problems, then finding and fixing the cause of the inflammation is a must. It's time to demand this for your health care and start living life to its fullest again. Book a discovery appointment with the Functional Health Team founder, Dr. Flora, to get your answers ASAP at www.functionalhealthteam.com. Welcome back. And now we just talked about annual planning. What we're going to do is talk now about your 90-day plan. There's a great book that I think gets a lot of this stuff right. If you're looking for a book on this matter, called The 12-Week Year. And I think it gets a lot of this stuff right. We dig into some things a little bit deeper in this whenever we work with clients. And actually, we do have a workshop coming up next or on the 30th. So we do this every quarter, but the next one is December 30th, and it is actually from 9 to 3. So if you'd like to join us, shoot me an email, or you can go ahead and register. Do you have that link, Jason? It's p2tq.eventbrite.com. You can register there, and as a loyal listener for the show, I'm going to go ahead and give you a $200 off. Normally it's $299 for the full day, but you can just do it for $99. So it's friend 200. Friend 200 is that code to get $200 off. So you can just join us for $99. But that is the 30th from 9 to 3. Okay. All right. So 90-day planning. Why is this so important? Too often we set goals that are just way out of the norm for us, or just way too big, and it's not really within our normal habits. And if it's not within our normal habits or normal routines, then it's going to be hard for us to just jump in and do it. And if you've ever set goals and kind of now at the point, like especially every year we make resolutions. If you've ever made resolutions and you've kind of gotten to the point where you just kind of roll your eyes at it when people are talking about resolutions, and or they're going to lose all this weight, and or they're going to eat healthy, or they're going to stop smoking, and just all of a sudden radically change something in their life. Unfortunately, that's just not very common. Unfortunately, that's not typically how humans work. Now, there is a small percentage of the population. So if you're one of these like highly, based on the DISC, a DISC is a personality assessment. It's a high D. It's more of a like dominant type of personality, somebody who likes the challenge of it. You might be really good at setting a goal and hustling really hard and knocking it out. But I'll tell you, even for most of those folks, you hustle really hard and you knock it out. That's very short lived. You might have burnt yourself out, or once you're done with that and knocked it out, you're like, well, I'm done. I'm moving on. Now, it might have taught you some great things along the way. It might taught you, it might have taught you how to be able to do something new, or it might have shown you that you can work later at night than you ever thought before. But as human beings, by the biology and the psychology that, and the physiology, I guess, that really guides us and that we are unfortunately behooved to. It's just this that's not really great for long term. So what I typically say is all right, let's look at how do we build the kind of habits and routines that help you to get more consistent results and help you to level up each quarter. All right. So it's about creating new systems, habits, routines in your business and your life that are going to help you get more consistent results each quarter. Because again, as we've said before, goals are simply a different set of results than what you have now, right? And if you just, I mean, if you just want to hit a goal real quick and then move on, that's cool. But if you actually say, you know what, I want to be the kind of person that is able to consistently hit these new sales goals. I want to be a person who creates a lifelong love of running. I want to be somebody who creates a lifelong system for making sure that I'm eating healthy and only splurging during special occasions. Then it's really important to think about this quarter by quarter and think about this as habit by habit, if you will. So first off, whenever we're planning for our 90 days, quarter by quarter, we always want to do a quick vision, mission, and values calibration because we want to make sure that anything that we're going to plan for and build for follows that path, right? So quick vision, mission, values, calibration, making sure that you're in line with that. Looking at your data analytics like we talked about before, like the 5 points of profit, other KPIs, and whatever else is important to your business. Again, KPIs are key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are the data that allows you to predict the results that you want. That could even be how many components of a widget were manufactured, and that's going to help you to be able to predict how many of the widgets that you get. In sales, it's like how many phone calls did you get, because how many phone calls can predict how many meetings and then how many contracts you get, right? So those are KPIs if you're not familiar with that. All right, so then you want to look at, okay, so if I've got these goals for the next quarter, right, and they align with my bigger vision, we want to break those down into smaller chunks, and we want to get an idea of what is going to be doable. Okay, so with those smaller chunks, you're going to want to look at how not only are you going to or not only what you want, but you want to break that down. Okay, what kind of obstacles could there be to those smaller chunks? Okay, what kind of things could get in the way and make it difficult for you to achieve that? Um, and then we want to create contingency plans. So, what are we going to do if that happens? Or what can we do to prevent that from happening? And then we're going to create the action steps for that. So one of the ways that I love looking at what are those obstacles, again, I love getting into the SWOT analysis. And when we're looking at 90-day planning, I encourage you to really, really look within. Be very, very clear about what strengths you bring to the table and what your weaknesses are. because part of our planning is going to be, okay, so if you've got strengths and those are areas that you enjoy working in, great. Those are areas that you can focus on. But if you've got weaknesses, okay, I get it. Some people want to try to develop their skills in that area. But if you want to go from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur to highest level of investor and being able to empower and equip other people, then you got to get really good at figuring out who is better at those areas that you're weak in than you. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm really not great in that. I know I need to hire somebody else to take care of finances, or I need somebody else to take care of marketing, or I need somebody else to really run the operations. A lot of really great business owners are like these great visionaries. I mean, well, they're really great at seeing the future. Now, running the business, though, that's where they struggle. So they have to get somebody who can help them to implement it. Somebody who's better at breaking those things down and making sure they get done. So that's why you have to be really very, very clear with yourself on what your weaknesses are that are going to get in the way. Or maybe it's really, really hard for you to build up a new habit, right? Let's say you realized that to be able to hit some of your sales goals, you need to show up to work feeling as great as possible. Okay. 90-day planning, you need to be real with yourself. So you need to say, okay, you know what, I need to show up to work as good as possible, as full of much energy and motivation. I know if I exercise and eat the right foods in the morning, it's going to help me a lot, right? But you don't have a current exercise routine. Don't think that you're going to just get a gym membership and show up. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people have gym memberships and never show up to the gym. Think about in this next 90 days, where can I kind of just start making some small steps towards it, some smart moves. I love the book Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits, I think his example was somebody who lost over 100 pounds. And so I love this example because it was somebody who lost 100 pounds, but it was over the course of, I think, over a year. And where they started, though, was very simple, just putting on their running shoes and not going running, just walking around the house, or maybe walking outside, just some intentional walking for like 2 minutes. So if you don't have this habit, break it down in something that's such a small, easy to do chunk that allows you to say, you know what, I've got a win here. And it was easy to do. And there's a part of the beauty of the psychology behind that too, because it's almost kind of funny when you think about it. Like, okay, I walked around my house for 2 minutes. It's kind of funny. So if you can kind of have fun with that, it still pairs a positive emotion to what you were doing. Our brain works in association. So the more that we can pair positive things with the things that we enjoy doing, um, or the positive things with the things that we need to be doing, the more our brain says, oh yeah, those things, that's a fun thing. It's paired. It's paired. So I highly encourage you to do something like that. Now, within our businesses, it might be starting off very small. If you're not making the calls that you need to be making, whether it's cold calls or calls to referral partners or just regular check-ins with clients, any of that stuff, then start small. Don't say, well, I'm going to knock out 100 cold calls a day if you're not making any. All right. Start off with maybe one a day. Just make one a day, and or 10 a day if you feel like you can do that. But start small, where or maybe it's even just like 10 a week. Maybe it doesn't even necessarily have to be a day. But you want to get good at scheduling this stuff. You want to schedule it for a consistent time each week, maybe each day, because what you want to start building in is kind of habit stacking. So if you can find a time where you can like you get done with something like each week. Let's say you go to a networking meeting and you always go to that networking meeting, and then you come back to the office, and then you eat lunch, and then you sit down, and at that moment where you've come back to the office and you sat down every week after that, that's a routine that happens consistently every week, right? So if you're kind of energized and you enjoy the networking, maybe that's a good time to build that new habit. I come in, sit down at my desk, and maybe I already have it open with the list that I'm going to call, because before I left, I set myself up to win. So I just set myself up with the list of the people that I'm going to call before I even left. So when I sit down, I can just pick up the phone and call. And the more I do that every week, the more it tells me, hey, this is just what you do. It starts to become just thoughtless, right? You don't have to struggle with it every time. And heck, it might even just be, your first part of that habit. If you really don't like cold calls, but you really want to get good at it, or you really should do it. Because I mean, honestly, if you're the business owner, it's one of those areas where it's like, okay, I know that might be a weakness, but you're also the best salesperson. And if you don't have the money to hire a salesperson, it's also one of the quickest ways to grow your business, just doing like cold calls. So I highly encourage you to consider it. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to work off of just a straight up commission sales position these days, especially in our current climate with the great resignation or the great reset. I've heard some people call it. So just putting that out there. So you might just start off with, okay, I'm going to get my list together each week. I'm going to set it up. After I get back from the networking meeting, I'm going to open up my computer. I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to, pick up my phone, and I'm going to just dial the number, and I'm just going to ask something very simple. Maybe it's not like a direct sales pitch, but maybe you start small. Just think about like what's achievable. Hey, I just wanted to update my records. Is this the right number for such and such? Great, great. I wanted to send them an email, an invite to something. What's a good email address to send them an invite to? Great, and then you can put that in your data and in your database, and then you can follow up later. So just break it down, make it really, really simple. Okay, make it really, really doable. That's moving you in the right direction, baby step by baby step. But there's another great practice that I like putting in this, because I feel some of your all's tension whenever I talk about cold calling. Okay, and it's a really great practice that I think is applicable to most people. Most people have some sort of fear when it comes to the next steps of their business. It's Tim Ferriss's fear setting. And what's beautiful about the fear setting is that you identify the things that you're afraid of, right? Obviously. But then you start to ask yourself, okay, well, if that were to happen, what would I do about it? And then you start saying, well, is there a way to prevent it from happening? So you look at mitigating it or preventing it. And once you say, okay, so there's a market crash and I lose all of my investments, right? Okay, so what would I do in that situation? It kind of takes the power out of it a little bit, because then you say, well, at least I kind of got a plan. It helps you to make it a little bit more realistic in terms of like, hey, there's a way out of it, or there's a way to recover from that. And it doesn't have to be the end of the world, because if we don't have a clear plan, sometimes our brain, that fight or flight part of our brain, that the part of that lizard brain, the fight or flight, just makes it, just builds it up. Oh my gosh, it's going to be the end of us. Well, no, not necessarily. So I love that about the fear setting practice. And then what you want to do is you look at, what are the costs of not achieving it? What are the costs of not even working on it? So let's say it's the cold calling. What kind of money would you be losing out on if you did not make the cold call? So if you got to kind of clear, like, okay, the average is like 100 calls. I can do, set 4 meetings, and maybe get 1 or 2 contracts out of that, right? And when I say 100 calls, like you actually talk to somebody. So let's say you're gonna shoot for that. And you kind of, okay, my average sale is this, and so this could be $30,000 for the year. Wow, if I don't make any cold calls, I might lose out on $30,000. So what could have that $30,000 have done for you, right? So some people are not necessarily as motivated by money. So, oh man, that $30,000, oh, I could have gone into my kids' school. Uh, I could have been part of my vacation. We could have gone to Hawaii. That was a big goal for our family. We could go to Hawaii, and now if I don't do this, I'm going to miss out on that. I could have finally done that, or man, I could have finally actually hired somebody to make these cold calls, right? You're going to lose out on that. So the beauty of that fear setting exercise, and you can YouTube it, or if you want more information, obviously email me. But you can YouTube it. Look for Tim Ferriss's fear setting. But the beauty of that is it really takes the power out of those fears that can often hold us back. Takes the power out of it a little bit, and then it shows us the value of overcoming that fear, right? And then there's this other aspect when it comes to setting your goals. Um, it's that darker part of it. Our habits and our routines are very closely tied to our personal beliefs about ourselves, about the world, and here's the thing: everybody lives in their own version of reality, because when we're younger, we learn how to view the world, and and that is kind of our programming, kind of like a computer programming. That's our programming, but the beauty of it is that you're not stuck with that. Once you start to understand that you can change those core beliefs, you can stop saying, "Well, that's just who I am. Well, that's just never going to work because I just could never do that." Because if you set some goals of what you want to if you want to make, and then you start paying attention. I actually have some logs that I share with my clients, you know, of for whenever they're about to work on something that they want to do, but they always know something holds them back. I have some logs of, okay, tell me what the thoughts and the feelings that you start experiencing when that happens. And once we start identifying those thoughts and those feelings that you experience and those things that hold you back, then we can start identifying the better, the more empowering thoughts and the feelings that you want to have whenever you're working on that, or whenever you're moving towards that, the things that serve you better. And if you have never experienced this, don't just miss it. It's not some woo-woo stuff. I mean, this is a core part of how the human psychology works. It's just like hypnosis or any of that stuff. This is a core part of how you can take yourself to the next level, or what is preventing you from taking yourself to the next level. So you can do thought retraining, and we've got some systems for that too. So if you need any more information on any of these things, please reach out. Again, we do have a workshop on December 30th. Just go to p2tq.eventbrite.com, and I gave you that code friend200 to get $200 off. So it's just $99 for you. But today we talked about the annual planning and how important that is. Not that you're going to take it off the shelf every day, but because the planning process helps you to identify those opportunities and those threats and their strengths and weaknesses and all those things that allow you to go into the year being able to be nimble, agile, being able to adapt because you've already thought through some of these things or something similar, right? And then and by focusing on those first 90 days and then doing this quarter by quarter. So you want to do this every quarter. And what are the habits, routines, systems that we need to build that are going to help us to level up consistently? You're going to get great momentum and keep that momentum. That's going to help you to get bigger results than you even thought possible. But so think about it as just getting momentum step by step. So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here with us. And please, again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to support you because I want to see every entrepreneur ascend to the greatest heights that they envision. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.